this was a free sample sent to me in one of my perfume orders, and I've been holding on to this for a really long time because, well, partly because it's one of these guys, so you don't, it's not one that you get to spray and wear properly and really think about too much. You sort of have to test it, and then that's it. You're done. But I did have an order with Makeup UK, and I was supposed to be getting the La Rive dupe of My Way. And I was waiting for, I think, nearly 3 months. And in the end, I just had to get them to give me a refund and cancel everything because it was just such a joke. So I never actually got hold of that, and I was going to keep it to compare, but I don't know when I'm going to be able to get it now. So I figured this is like, it's so dried up by this point, I'm just going to talk about it. So My Way by Giorgio Armani is, I always just thought, oh, this is a tuberose perfume. So I like tuberose, and I kind of figured I would like this one. And to be honest, I do quite like this. I really like these bottles. I think that the My Way bottles are really cool. I don't think I have any Giorgio Armani perfumes. I don't know that I've ever owned a Giorgio Armani perfume. I'm just trying to think if I've ever had anything from Armani before. I'll have a look in a bit when I've actually talked about the notes. So the notes in the original My Way are top notes of orange blossom bergamot, middle notes of tuberose and Indian jasmine, base notes of Madagascar vanilla, white musk and Virginia cedar. So there are a huge amount of things that can go wrong for me with this, because I don't really like jasmine. It gives me a headache, so I often can't wear jasmine perfumes. I'm not keen on orange blossom if it's sweet, and I'm fussy about vanilla, and sometimes cedar is a disaster if it's like super synthetic, because I think synthetic wood smells like tar. So, so I was like, I'm going to smell it because I've got a free sample. So let's have a sniff. This is like a really recognisable perfume to me. It's intensely sweet, and it is tuberosy, and it's got a kind of very, very sweet citrusy vibe to it, which must be coming from that bergamot. It's actually so sweet that I think it could veer in towards sickly territory. That's how I feel about this. It's like intensely sugary. It reminds me of something old, and I don't think this is an old perfume, so I'm just going to have a look. No, 2020. Let me just have a look at the votes. I find that tuberose and bergamot is at the top for me. Interesting. So on here, tuberose by a mile is the top note. Absolutely, this smells like a tuberose perfume. Orange blossom and jasmine are after that, and then bergamot or vanilla. I think I would have tuberose, bergamot, vanilla at the top, followed by jasmine and orange blossom, probably quite equally. I didn't find this particularly musky when I tried it on my skin, but the longer it dried down, the more the cedar started poking through. And it had only the subtlest hint of that kind of tar-like synthetic wood smell. It wasn't like really bad. It was just, I caught a whiff of it every now and again, and I was like, don't know. So I do kind of like this, and I think if anything, I still want to get the La Rive version, because my feeling is that the La Rive one won't be quite as strong, because this is actually quite strong, or at least in this kind of put it in between two bits of silver stuff, plastic. It's strong on this, but I don't know if that's going to be like super concentrated, because they would have had to make it quite a thick and viscous, liquid, so that it would stay in between those bits and not just dry up. But I thought this was pretty strong. It's incredibly sweet, and actually sweet in a sugary way. It's not entirely vanilla. It's just very, very, very sweet. Kind of syrupy, really, but it's quite a nice tuberose, and it definitely does remind me a little bit of L'Entity by Givenchy. Now, I actually think that the general profile of L'Entity perfumes is nicer than this particular perfume. I think that the L'Entity tuberose is a better level of, well, the original, but in particular, the Eau de Parfum original. Not so much the Eau de Toilette because that gets a bit sharper, but the original has a really good level of syrupy, juicy, fresh pear smell mixed with that tuberose. And it's incredibly beautiful, but for me it's killed by the patchouli in it, and obviously this perfume does not have patchouli in it, and therefore it's a bit more palatable for me in the long run. But if you don't mind patchouli and you want a designer, this kind of price range, 60 odd pounds, and you want a tuberose perfume, then I would absolutely say get L'Interdit. I think it's a nicer perfume, but like I said, unwearable for me because of the patchouli in it, which is quite sad. But I'm just having a little look and seeing what it's compared to. L'Interdit, My Way. La Rive, Her Choice, that's the one I'm planning to get. Oh, yes, definitely. So there's also Ralph Lauren Woman on here, which is a much, much older perfume. I absolutely loved the opening notes of Ralph Lauren Woman. When I smelt it in store, I was like so ready to well, I wasn't going to buy it in store because it was 75 quid for like a 50ml or maybe a 30ml. I thought the bottle was really cool as well because it looks like a kind of hip flask, but I was like, I might have a look for this online. But then by the time I'd left the shop, the base notes had come through and it had put me off it. I've actually just clicked to open, so let's have a little look and see what the notes are in Woman by Ralph Lauren, because that isn't, truly it's a lovely perfume as well. Yes, it is quite animalic, definitely. So that one has pear in the top as well, and tuberose, Turkish rose, hazelnut, sandalwood and woody notes. So the hazelnut and the woody notes in that had that kind of slightly tarry powderiness going on that I didn't enjoy. But for the first 15 minutes of that perfume, pear, blackcurrant, rhubarb, tuberose, Turkish rose and orange blossom, oh my goodness, it was an absolute stunner. So yeah, again, if you don't have the same issues I do with like wood in your perfumes, it's brilliant. That one came out in 2017, so that's a bit older. It's still not super old, and I just feel like My Way really reminds me of something. And I haven't seen anything in this list yet that's particularly old, but it totally reminds me of a perfume from when I was young. I don't think it smells like Gucci Bloom. I can't see anything that it's been compared to, but it really, there is something about this that reminds me of my childhood. Like a super, super sweet and girly perfume from my childhood. It's not one I would run out to buy just because it is so, so sweet. And it's sweet. It's incredibly sweet in a floral way, which tends not to be my favourite. I generally prefer sweet fruity or, sweet gourmands rather than some really, really sweet florals. I would say that I'd be comfortable saying that this has the same vibe, although it isn't the same smell, but it does have the same kind of vibe as Flora Gorgeous Gardenia by Gucci, which is a ever so slightly fruity, incredibly sweet floral perfume, which I don't particularly think smells like gardenia. There's frangipani and pear blossom and all kinds of stuff, but it's so sweet it was sort of unbearable to smell for me, that one, because that also has patchouli in it. This one doesn't have patchouli, as I said, and I would be very happy, totally happy, to get La Rive, Her Choice, and see how I feel about that, because I think if you want a super syrupy sweet tuberose but you don't want patchouli in it, this is probably going to be the one for you.